Story. Tell me a story.
How did it all start? Do you remember?
Oh, now what happened? How did it start?
This is Small Business Origins.
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Small Business Origins. I'm your host, as always, John Kelly, aka John the Marketer on Instagram and TikTok, and you're tuned in. It's our nationwide search. We're looking for entrepreneurs that have a story to tell. And joining me in the studio today, I've got Shane Nobles. He's from Beaumont, Texas, but relocated to Tomball, Texas as quick as he could and has headquartered his business, Pain Train Salsa, right here. Shane, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it is always our pleasure. We absolutely enjoy it. This one, I think, has been in the making for like 2 years, 3 years, something crazy. We talked a long time ago, probably right before you were building a brand new location and trying to figure out how you were going to move your entire life into that. So I can understand why it's delayed, but now Tomball Economic Development Corporation has brought you here so that they can share you as one of their success stories. We'll kind of get into some of the things you've been able to do with their help. But we want to talk all about you. And before we hop into that, we have to start out with an icebreaker question. We always start out with an icebreaker question. And today's is, how do you recognize when you're stressed?
How do I recognize when I'm stressed? My cheeks get red like they are right now.
I was going to say, or are you just stressed all the time? So that's it.
Yeah, it's just kind of, it is the norm and stuff. But, you know, sometimes it's a good thing. You know, I think stress, if you handle it properly, it's this motivating factor in getting you to go and go and go and go. And, that's, I crave it sometimes. It's weird to say, but you do tend to, you like having that pressure, stress, as long as you keep it in kind of a positive fashion.
Yeah, I think it depends on what kind of stress it is that makes it, harder or easier for me to handle. And I think one of the biggest things I've noticed, I say recently, probably been working on it the past year or two, is that when I'm super stressed about something, and it's not that good kind of stress that motivates me and makes me get something done under pressure, but it's that annoying stress or just stress of work or home life or something like that, I get kind of snippy every now and then.
Right.
And I can just tell when things are getting on my nerves, that's a high stress level. So I've been really cognizant lately of making sure that I'm trying to figure out good, healthy ways to handle that stress.
Yeah, the beauty of my life is so different than what it was, just not 10 years ago. And beauty of it now is a lot of times I find myself running in Planet Fitness for 30 minutes to an hour, just walking on a treadmill, doing the same thing I would be doing if I was riding in my van or at the shop or whatever, like just doing work type stuff, and that's been something that, I coached for 20 years. So, that was being in that environment is, kind of comforting to me, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've become more accustomed to lately. I did not start out as somebody who enjoyed the gym at all. And now Andrew and I, for like the past, 90, 120 days, we've been kind of pushing each other to get in the gym. Plus with my full-time job, we have to work out every single shift that we're on anyway, but definitely enjoying the gym a lot more. And I think it's helping to just kind of relieve some of that stress off the top all the time,
definitely,
whether there's something specific going on or not. Yeah. Because it's just, I don't know, something about lifting weights, just kind of, you're giving it your all. And I think it just drains you to the point that you can't be stressed anymore.
Yep, that's so true. I love, like I said, used to lift a lot more, like to get in there. Nowadays, I do the old man workout. I get on the treadmill, incline it a little bit, and then just go to town, just on a fast walk, and it just gets my mind off other things. And I can take care of business while I'm doing that. And that's been something that's, I think, it's been helpful for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Andrew and I definitely have some really good gym conversations that turn into some cool business stuff. So
yeah, for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you just like we do every single episode and ask you the same question I ask every single episode. And that is, who are you? Where'd you come from? And how'd you get into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, those are really easy, simple questions, right? Well, wow, wrap your mind around that a little bit there. The biggest thing is, when I graduated from Sam Houston, went to school there, people thought I was going to school to be a doctor because I was there so long, but I did manage to graduate and get out of there. And during that time, I worked at Pappasitos in Houston, and that's where I met my wife, actually, who has been with me on this journey from day one with the business and stuff. And her name's Bianca, and I outpunted my coverage, so to speak. And anyhow, so was working at Pappasitos and driving back and forth to Sam Houston at the time, and that's the first time I got a chance to see a salsa being made. So I got, I found that interesting, and there was times when I became a bartender, they would ask us to go and help make the salsa too, just blend it. They'd throw the ingredients in there, but I saw what the ingredients were, so I started. I decided I was going to make my own, and that's when I started playing around with it. That's really where it all started. It was just that concept of. Hey, I think I can do this. I saw, now our roasted salsa is what I started with, like I was talking about with the Perfect Hot that started it all. And it's not Pappasito salsa at all, but all salsas have some basics to them, And so I started tweaking it here and there. And I finally came up with one that, over time, everybody really liked, and then depending on where I was going with it, I would make it sometimes hotter or sometimes less hot, to fit the crowd. But that's really how it started. And, I ended up being known as, the salsa coach and teacher and stuff, during before Thanksgiving and Christmas, I would bring salsa and chips up for my classes and stuff and set it up in the back on a table. And they, when they got done, or, we'd have some free time during that time, and they would be able to go and eat some chips and salsa. And they, just kind of became my little niche. And, but I was, I coached high school, and I was a football coach. So we work 7 days a week, at least 4 months out of the year. And then I was head track coach. So that's 6 days, out of the week. And that's 3 months a year. So long story short, I was always busy with that, which I loved. And, during the meantime, I've got my wife, and we had 3 beautiful girls. And, I found myself one day at the Magnolia West. That was that was the last place that I coached. Found myself in the off season, and I was thinking, my girls are growing up, and I haven't seen them, as much as I'd like. I'm always gone, and I made a nanosecond decision that, I'm going to just teach. I'm going to quit coaching. And there's a point to this conversation, by the way. So I decide that I'm going to just teach, and I go in and take a job here in Tomball at Willowwood Junior High teaching. And I would walk out of the classroom at 4:30, walk out of the school at 4:30 in the afternoon. I look around, I'm like, good Lord, this is how the other half lives. They're not there till 8, 9, 10, 1 o'clock in the morning doing coaching stuff,
Yeah.
And I loved coaching, so I wasn't looking for a way to get out, but I loved my girls a little bit more. So I wanted to be able to spend some time with them. So all that being said, for the first time, I had weekends open, and I took my salsa and got a hold of a guy, Lane McCarty, who ran the Tomball Farmers Market at the time. And he was just about to let a salsa guy in from Katy, who is a good guy. But he's always been one of our competitors. But that's a good thing,
Sure.
And but since I was local, he decided to let us in. So I took my oldest daughter, Kennedy, out there to the farmers market, and we got out there at the Tomball Farmers Market. This is the second weekend in June of 2014. And the reason I know that is because we've been going to the Tomball Farmers Market every Saturday, 50 Saturdays a year. They're off 2 Saturdays. We have not missed one, not one, in coming up on 10 years.
Yeah.
And so we go out there, and for the first 20 minutes, man, we don't sell 1 jar of salsa. And I'm thinking we're going to go home with, we were making it in the house at the time. We made, our first batch was 49 jars. I'd never made that much at one time.
Yeah.
I didn't know how much it was going to make. So I'm thinking, we're going to go home with 45 jars of salsa, and Kennedy's out there bored, like what's going on? And then all of a sudden the market got busy, and we sold out in an hour and a half. And it changed the perspective immediately, of course. So you have myself and my wife who teaches, we're on the strict, budget. So, it's a teacher's, salary.
Yeah,
and,
right.
This, first of all, you're out talking to customers about your product, and it's giving you a little extra income, nothing to change your world, but man, it's nice to be able to go out and eat dinner and not have to stress about it, and and just little things like that. So a couple weeks later, mom, the wheels start spinning. I'm like, babe, how about you do the Woodlands Grogan Mill Market? So we jumped in that a couple weeks later, and so on Saturdays, Friday nights we were up till 1 o'clock labeling and putting, finishing up after working all day at school, and then getting up on Saturday mornings and going. I'm going to Tomball. She's going to the Woodlands, and it really did provide some. That's a big incentive, of course. I mean, it's your product plus. When you're, used to just that really finite budget, that was something that was a neat game changer for us, so to speak. As far as nothing major, but for us it was. And then over time, it just wheels kept going. I'm thinking, I'll go big or go home, and so we're getting other family members. Frank, my father-in-law, her father came and started helping us out, and he's just amazing. He was in the car business forever. He was in the Air Force early on, and then car business, and ran some major dealerships, and just a blessing. He's still with us, and still, I mean, he never, he'll be 110 before he quits, but he's amazing. But he's just been unbelievable for us as well, and so he sent him to a market, and then. We get a couple other people, friends, family, and stuff, and eventually, and fast forward a little bit, we there was times we would be doing 15 to 20 markets on a weekend, and that's bizarre world, because you got to have 15 to 20 canopies, 15 to 20 tables, 15 to 20, or really 30 to 45 coolers, and then you got to have places to store it. It's just, it's just like anything, though. You start creating these issues that you got to solve, and
right.
And that's, I don't know, I thrive off of that sometimes. It's when I was up in East Texas, coach, I was defensive coordinator, and that was the first time I had a chance to really be in charge of what kind of decisions we made on the field, like what the scheme was. And that resonated with me. I loved that, man. That is just right up my alley. Problem solving, puzzle, figure it out, strategy, all of that, man. That's probably my most driving force. So this business, in a lot of ways, reminds me of that. It's salsa at the end of the day.
Right.
It's dang good salsa, don't get me wrong. But
I think so.
At the end of the day, it's salsa. But that's just if you don't have the product, you're in trouble. But if you have the product, you're still in trouble. You got to figure it out. There's a lot more than just making sure you come up with a good product. I mean, that's where it's just been bizarro world. So you go from doing all these farmer markets, which, is kind of the natural progression with a lot of, young entrepreneurs and stuff. You got it. They're that's going to be the place that's going to open their arms to you most of the time. Nowadays, it's even tougher to get in, because they're really filled up, so we were blessed to have that door open for us. But then started looking to go into some retail. And if there's a point you need to stop me or whatever.
No, this is great, man. You are on a roll. I love it.
Okay. There's a little M&R liquor store that they have 3 stores in the Tomball area right next to HEB. And I happen to have met the guy that owns it. His name's Iman. Great family, man. His whole family works there. And anyway, long story short, brought in salsa, kind of told him, hey man, is there any chance we could, we're looking for a retail place? And he said, sure, man. He was just no problem. And that's not our classic fit, but for where we were right then, that was amazing. Our first retail store we're in, and
yeah.
And so we were able to get it, we put it in all 3 of the stores and stuff. And then that was the motivation to keep trying to expand on the retail side, because, you're doing farmers markets, and that they're great, absolutely fantastic. And we built our brand in front of people every stinking weekend, loving it, just talking to people and showing them and tasting it and watching the reactions, and people are doing their happy dance and like, oh my gosh, it's so good. And that's fulfilling there, until it rains. And then when it rains and it pours and you have a, 2 weekends in a row or 3 weekends in a row where the weather just wipes you out and stuff, and you've gotten to a point you're really relying on this income, you know, because now by this time we had actually opened a place on Main Street in Tomball, and you know, that was our first little building. It was an old salon, 1925 house is what it was.
Wow.
The last building that was, the last people that were business that was in there was a salon, and we just went in there and just redid it all. I made a commercial kitchen out of it. Learned a lot when I was doing that. I didn't have any expertise in that, and ended up making a commercial kitchen that Harris County came down and inspected and said, "You're good to go. You got everything that you need in the right places and stuff." And so we jumped in, and so our bills, you know, when I doing that, I was like, "Ooh, this is taking a step," you know, but we're doing it right. We're doing it legal, and so on and so forth, you know. And so we started with that, and I was still teaching at the time at Willowwood, and you know, these extra expenses, you know, when the farmer markets, you know, if they usually do really well, they're really great for us. But if the weather's bad and nobody comes, you know, all of a sudden you still got to pay people, you still got to pay the rent
Right.
and all that, and so that really motivated me to start focusing on retail. But to jump back one step, you know, we opened the store up, and we're rolling still. Markets are 99.9% of everything that we're doing. The M&R liquor, great, you know, but that's more, you know. And then I found a couple other little places. We end up getting the Smitty's Meat Market. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Blake, who owns that, man, just good people, man. And
Top notch.
yes, and we sell. And that's, oh my gosh, we sell so much in that place. It's incredible. I mean, incredible. But so we found some local places that were, you know, that did well for us and stuff. And at the same time, I'm still teaching. I'm at Willowwood Junior High. I'm teaching U.S. history. Loved it. You know, people later on when I got out and stuff and was just doing this full time, they're like, "Man, congratulations." And I'm like, you know, thank you, but I love teaching it. I mean, I was not trying to get out of teaching. I love teaching. When I was coaching and teaching is the same thing. If you're you know, a good teacher, you'll be a good coach. If you're a good coach, you'll be a good teacher. I've never found a good coach or that was a bad teacher. You have to love both of them. You can't pick and choose. And I've seen a lot to try, and it doesn't work like that. So I totally, when I got out of coaching, it's funny. I went to Willowwood Junior High, didn't coach anything there, just taught. All the kids called me coach. They didn't even know that I coached before. I never told them, you know, and they still called me coach. It was funny. I was like, why are you calling me coach? You know, we're rolling along and stuff. And my wife tells me one day, she goes, "Man, we need to come up with a creamy avocado." There was another green sauce that we'd seen at one of the places, and she goes, "We need to come up with that." And I was like, "Okay, that's great. You know, that's a good idea." But I was stubborn. Everything that we do with the roasted sauces, we caramelize the tomatoes. It sweetens them naturally. Everything, I didn't really talk about all this, but everything that we do is 100% all natural, no additives, no oils, no sugars. It's just really clean products. And I pride myself on that. And so I didn't want to add sugar into our salsa, which almost everybody does. So if you caramelize the fruit, just like if it was an apple, it sweetens it. So that took care of that issue. Plus, it tastes good with that little roast flavor.
Oh yeah.
So with the green sauce, all I know is roasting stuff. So I'm taking these green, you know, tomatoes, tomatillas, and I start trying to make this green sauce, and I'm roasting them, and I'm messing it all. I mean, it was a complete disaster, man. I couldn't figure it out. And she's finally like, "Well, you need to try it without roasting." I was like, "Well, okay, maybe." Anyway, long story short, I guess, you know, she's the brains behind it all, and you know, and she's pointing me in the right direction. I finally got it together and came out with a creamy avocado that is what we have today. And I retired at the end of that year. I was walking, you know, I'd be walking around all day with one of my old coaching whiteboards, you know, writing down every expense I could think of, man, everything I could think of, you know, how we're going to make this leap. You know, I'm going to lose my teaching salary.
Right.
And can I make that up with what we're doing? And finally I was like, man, I think we can do this, you know? And so we took the leap, and, you know, praise God we did, man. That was, I mean, like I said, I enjoyed teaching, but that was just a neat new start, a different chapter of life. And it's been been an incredible journey since
What year
then.
was that y'all retired? Or
So-
did you both retire? Or
No,
just
no,
you?
no. She got done with college before I did. Like I told you, I was going for the doctor years, you know.
Yeah.
And she has a little more, you know, years than I do in that, and she's close enough to her retirement, and she's one, you know, that becomes a big deal. You know,
Sure.
it helps you when you do
It's a lot of money
retire
you've
if you-
poured into
yeah,
that, too.
Yes, and stuff. So we're just trying to hang in there and stuff. We've gotten to a point that she doesn't have to spend as much time as she used to, and she's always asked me every weekend, "Hey, I can go do a market if you need me to." I'm like, no, I really best I can after this amount of time. I'm like, no, we're okay. I got somebody, you know, and stuff like that. You know, she needs to have some time too. But anyway, it was, I would say it was the third year after we started the business, started doing the farmer markets, and then we introduced the creamy avocado. So it had been like 2017. And when we introduced the green, I had to make a decision, and if I'd have quit the salsa business, people would have hunted me down and shot me. So I decided go ahead and retire from teaching, and pray that would be, you know, the way to go. And we've been blessed. It's been good. This community's been unbelievably supportive. The chamber is, you know, like I know that's the core of it, and they've just promoted. They very, you know, maybe all communities do this, but I doubt it. I can't believe that they would be like the support that we get here. I mean, they come after you and say, "Hey, we're going to help you with this and that," and I'm like, okay, were you reading my mind? Did you know I didn't even come and ask you yet? So anyway, I've been real appreciative of that, and anyhow, we get going. The retail side, to get back to that, is kind of where I realized with the weather, you know, how it affects things, that I don't want to be completely reliant as we started getting larger and larger, that I don't want to be just relying on good weather. You know, that can be very dangerous for your business. And so I started looking at more retail, and without going in too much of the weeds and all that, finally I reached out to Brookshire Brothers. And so they've been a staple out of Lufkin and all through East Texas, and, you know, for last century, you know. And I reached out to Deborah Arnold is the lady. She is in charge of the deli section that we would, you know, hypothetically go into if our salsa is cold, it's fresh. So another thing about the fresh salsa is you got to have cold storage. You know, everybody's asked me like, well, what's the biggest issue you find? And it was always been cold storage. And
Yeah.
and I'll tell you a little something about that when we talk about the new building. But I got a hold of Miss Deborah, and I said, told her about us and stuff, and I could tell that she was kind of like, meh, you know, I don't know, you know. And I said, I promise you, let me come up there, let's try it. I promise you. And she goes, all right. She goes, I'll tell you what, I'll schedule you. And she scheduled me 4 months later. So
Wow.
I knew she was just doing that just because I would blow it off and go on somewhere else. Well, 4 months later, I showed up in Lufkin at the headquarters there, and the place is, you know, I mean, it's a big place, and it's got all these cubicles. It's kind of like, I don't know, you ever see the movie Moneyball? It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
And
Great flick.
yes, and so they have all those cubicles and
Yep.
stuff. And anyway, I'm in there with Miss Deborah. I'm talking. She's him and the Han, you know, and she's just kind of giving me the service of, you know, since I, you know, the gratitude of me coming up there, at least she's going to let me talk to her. I finally stopped and said, listen, we're doing too much talking. Let's try some of this. And so I break out the creamy avocado and chips and stuff. And she stops. She gets up, walks out the door. She has her own office. She doesn't have a cubicle, of course. You know,
Right,
she opens up and goes, John, Mary, Andy, and just starts calling these names. Get in here. And then became a big salsa party. And 5 minutes later, we had a gig with Brookshire Brothers. And that was our first, you know, real, like a big box, so to speak, retailer that gave us some legitimacy. You know, it's that same thing of, you know, how do you get experience? You got to have experience to get a job. How do you get a job without experience? But how do you get experience if you don't have a job? You know, it's the same concept in the retail business, or getting in retail. And we started in there, and it went well. You know, we're doing farmer markets. We're doing this. I'm in there demoing, doing demos in the stores and getting it known and stuff. And, you know, eventually we end up going into or flirting with HEB, and that was very interesting time. Everybody's like, "You gotta go to HEB and stuff," and my wife and I talked about it, and I'm a little nervous. At the time, we're still in our old building, and I'm thinking, man, I don't know. Might not be the time. We might not be ready. But we had them actually tell us that, hey, they reached out to us at one time. I went to a meeting for, potential new vendors and stuff, and there was a lot of people there, man, probably 100 and something vendors. And
Wow.
James Harris of HEB was telling us, talking to us and stuff. And anyway, great setup. Everything's good. They came out and visited the shop. Everything was good there. And then I got to talking to the buyer that was, who would be our buyer. And we had to, we're going through the Quest of Texas. That's what we ended up doing, this little Quest Texas, for HEB. It's their I don't know if you are familiar, but it's the competition they have every year for new entrepreneurs to get into HEB. And then, if you win it, you win like new truck, $25,000, all this kind of stuff. And they advertise and they do a lot for you. So we were in there, and the competition goes for 4 months, and they let you know if you don't make it. They just kind of say, hey, appreciate you coming, but we decided, you're not in the final 10. You're not in the final this, final that. And anyway, we didn't get that message at all, and went down to the last day, and the buyer's like, he had proposed. We kind of went back and forth on like, hey man, here's the wholesale that we can do. And he's like, here's the wholesale you're going to need to do. And it was just so far off, and I got down to the last day, and I told him, I said, I can't do it for that. And he was not happy with me. I'll say that. I think we were his horse, and he had a good horse. We had good product. And but if we would have said yes to that, we would be out of business right now. That's not even a question mark. We would not be in business today if we would have said yes to that. So it's hard saying no to HEB on that end, for
I can
sure. My
imagine.
wife had a tear in her eye. She looked like the old Cherokee, with that tear in his eye. And but she understood. I mean, she was supportive of it, but it was tough. And what's funny is 2 hours later at 10 a.m., Reginald Pearson, who's in charge of the delis of all the Specs, he reached out to me. He said, hey, I was at a farmer's market this Saturday in Missouri City, and I tried your salsa. And we got talking. He goes, we just started talking. I said, man, can I just talk to you for just a second? He said, he goes, I just wanted to reach out and touch bases with you. He goes, I'm kind of busy right now, and I guess I was probably a little emotional that day. I'd said no to HEB 2 hours ago, which was, was going to be our big deal. And, I guess it was, you could hear it in my voice. And he goes, no, Shane, he goes, never mind. He goes, you tell me what you need to tell me. And he goes, you take your time. And about 10, 15 minutes later, we were in Specs.
Wow.
So one door shut. Good Lord opened up another door within 2 hours. It was crazy. And we've been in there for 5 years. And well, when we sat down, I told you they just made another order. It's just it's been consistent,
Sure.
And so we go from there, and we get into Whole Foods in the Houston area. There's 12 stores there, and just another slice of the pie that we're trying to make. We're delivering to that. Berkshire Brothers, we take it to the Magnolia store. They distribute it to whatever stores are ordering it. We don't have anything to do with that. Specs, same way. They have a warehouse in Houston. I deliver a big order. They take it and do whatever they do with it.
Sure.
Whole Foods, we actually deliver ourselves. And, and that was, they invited us actually to talk. They had me come into one of the hotels down in Houston, one of the swanky hotels, and talk to all the managers from all the Whole Foods about who we are and what we're doing, and regional guys coming down. That was kind of neat,
That's insane
that
sounding.
was nerve wracking.
Yeah.
For sure. So doing all that, and then had a chance to I wanted to look at Central Market. I thought our product at the end of the day, it's the Dom Perignon of salsa. our creamy avocado. And when we're talking about retailers now, we're really talking about primarily for most of the retailers, they're focused on the mild and spicy creamy avocado. So it's not cheap. We put almost a whole avocado per jar. Tomatillo is the first ingredient. Wow. Everything that we do is we hand squeeze our lime still. I mean, it's a handcrafted. I know that's cliche, but it's true. It is handcrafted every day, fresh, very clean, all natural, one carb, all keto friendly, gluten free, all this stuff. And so, you know, it's not cheap to make, and it's not cheap to buy, to be honest with you. The price point on it, you're gonna pay $7.99. You go into the store and get it. And if you want to buy paste picante sauce, then hey man, they got a whole section for you. But if you want the good stuff, and I tell people, I go, it's only expensive the first time you buy it. After that, you don't care anymore because it's good. We put a little bit of crack in every jar. You know, on the back of my shirt it says that. My mom's still mad at me about that, but you know, it's you know, it is the Dom Perignon salsa, you know, and that's our little niche. So I bring that up for the fact that the central markets that's what they showcase a lot, you know, and Spec does too. You know, they kind of showcase the niche foods, you know, the stuff that's really high quality and you can't get everywhere and stuff. So started sending, you know, boxes of our product up to Dallas area where Central Market's headquarters are. First one, you know, that ain't cheap either because you got to overnight it. And the first one that I sent up there, you know, I get back with them, you know, I get a hold of somebody like a week later and they're like, oh yeah, it's still sitting over there. And I'm like, oh gosh, so it's been sitting out. So I resent it. And, you know, that's just part of it, you know, and we are nobody. I mean, absolutely nobody to them at that time. And, so got in Central Markets, and once again, man, if you need me to pause about anything, you tell me.
Man, you are killing it. You are just going through the whole thing.
Well, I'm rolling. This is our story. So
yeah, that's perfect.
So we go into Central. We finally get them to try it, and then it always becomes a different conversation once, you know, they try the product. Like, oh man, this is good, you know, blah blah. And so we go into the Central Markets and stuff, and you know, we have a distributor, Fresh Point, that handles that aspect of it and stuff. And Central Markets are great. Got some of the coaches I used to coach with for years. I'm really close with still. Back in the days, so when I first coached, I was at New Caney, and then I went to Bullard, Texas, up in East Texas, defense coordinator, then Magnolia West. So in the area and stuff, and some of these coaches had come down from the Dallas, Fort Worth area when I was at New Caney and coached with them, and then they have went on to be head coaches, and you know, just they've been so successful. I have, you know, one of the wives that is up there in the South Lake area. She does demos for me at all the stores in that area, Dallas and Plano and South Lake and Fort Worth, and she'll do demos and stuff. So anyway, we really pushed on all this. Eventually, so we're, you know, HEB owns Central Market, and we're always, you know, our little HEB by our house over there in Spring Cypress and Grant. We that's, you know, we're in there all the time, or we were in there all the time, of course. And finally, you know, I didn't really even think about this. Once again, my wife comes with the big home run hitter, and she comes up and introduces herself to the head guy there, Mike Struts, and he's the GM of that store. And she goes, hey, I just want to let you know, we'd really love to get an HEB. We tried for the Quest for Texas Best, didn't really, you know, pan out the way we were wanting to. And, you know, she says, we're local right here in Tomball and so on. And she goes, and we're also in Central Market. He goes, wait, hang on, you're in Central Market. So just to back up a step, when we went into Central Market, the negotiation with them was completely different. Oh my gosh, night and day. You know, and it is. You got your categories. You know, Central Market and Whole Foods, they kind of compete. HEB and Kroger's compete. Okay, so it's a little different on that price point and stuff. They got a little more flexibility. Well, we had negotiated a price through Central Market that was fair to us and fair to Central Market. Central Market's going to sell at $7.99. HEB was never, they were like, no way you're ever going to sell at $7.99. There's just no way that, you're going to be $1.20 over the next competitor and stuff. And so that was, it's just a mindset that you're not going to change your mind on that.
Right.
Anyway, Mike's like, so you're in Central Market. What's your husband's email? He goes, let me go check on a couple things and see what I can do. Well, we're already in the system. I didn't know how it worked. Anyway, the next morning, I get an email from him. He said, bring in your product. It was that's a jaw dropper for us. So I bring in the product. He had gotten it authorized. You have to get it authorized for your store. Brought it in, it was under our vendor number and all that. It was crazy. They didn't know how to pay us. We went like a month and a half, didn't get paid. We brought in all this product. We brought it into that little store and we sold, it was probably like 2,000 jars in the first 6 weeks in that store. I'm not even exaggerating. It's nuts because, this wasn't about us. This was about the community going, hallelujah. Y'all made it into HEB and we're going to support you. And that's what the community does around here. They're incredible. So, when people ask, hey man, can you donate some salsa to the school or that school or this place or the police department or fire or whatever, our standard rule is, and we live by it, we just don't say no. And if somebody's listening to this right now and they're going, man, I'd like to get something started, that's the best rule I've ever ever decided on. I never, ever say no about donating something. What you need, how much, and let's do this. Yeah. Gift cards, salsa chips, and every school in Tomball, Incline probably, and Magnolia would attest to that. And that's just been a good thing. It's just good karma. People are eating your stuff. Okay, that's a good thing.
It's a cost to acquire a new customer.
Yeah.
Because once they have it and they see the logo, like you said, the crack that's in it is going to addict them.
Yeah. So nobody ever buys it once. So so it's a win-win all the way around. So anyway, got into HEB. The thing is that Fresh Point, that distributor I mentioned earlier with Central Market, they're the ones. It's weird, and I still don't 1,000,000% understand this, but they're the one that negotiates the price. And I guess Central Market just gives them that. They just say, hey, you negotiate the price. If it's something we agree with, we'll go with it and stuff. But you negotiate like what you're going to add into this cost for delivery and stuff. So Fresh Point just delivers. That's all they do. And they bring it to Central Market. So we negotiated a price with them. Well, when we went to HEB, the back door, so to speak, there was nobody to negotiate. We already had a price at point that we were at. We're already in the system. And so HEB or Central Market pays Fresh Point, and Fresh Point pays us. Well, HEB didn't have a way to pay us. They didn't have anybody to pay. So it threw them a big knuckleball for 6 weeks, and they finally figured out how to get it all going. And we finally started recouping, some of the money. But we were. I wasn't nervous about it, but it was a lot. We were cranking it. So we went into our first HEB a year ago, February, and it was February 1st actually. And we're in 46 of them now. That's 14 months later. And it's been good. It's funny, corporate, they have nicknamed us the anomaly. They're like, they tell us like, what you're doing at your price point should never happen. But they love us. They don't get me wrong. We make them money too, and we, just gotten to a point. I guess all the farmer markets, one of the things about it when you go and make that transition to retail that really has helped is that concept of doing markets is doing sampling, it's doing demos, is all it is at farmer markets.
Right.
So making that transition, and I've really focused on doing tons of demos in these stores. And so the money that we're making, people are always like, man, we're making all kinds of money, but we're spending all kinds of money. So I never know if we're really making any money, but we're
as long as your bills are paid, I guess.
Yeah, that's about it. But we are reinvesting in that. And you always hear, I wasn't a business major, I coached, but it's most of it's just common sense and learning how to problem solve. And, I've really been, really big about doing the demos and stuff and paying people. And now instead of 20 farmer markets, we'll have sometimes 10, 12 demos on a weekend, between Saturday and Sunday. Not just sometimes, most often we will have that. And, that's a good reinvestment. You're just trying to build it. We've only been in there a year. I mean, when you're 5 years into this, we're still going to be considered new, at the end of the day. But I think for where we are, well, in HEB in our first year, and you have to understand, like, we went into our first store. 2 weeks later, we had another store reach out to us because they saw the numbers we were doing in the Grant Tomball store.
Right.
And then it kind of went like that for a while, and it trickled, and and we would add stores, and my buyer would be like, that's fine, we'll get it authorized. That's fine, we get authorized. Are you sure you can handle this? And they're like, you'll get squashed if you're not careful. And I don't get me wrong, we'd grow, and I would tap the brakes and say, let's see how this goes now.
Sure.
It's all about, making the product, distributing the product, and selling, demoing the product. Those are the 3 pillars, man. You got to make sure if you don't have those 3 things down by, see you later. That is critical, man. You got to have a great product. You got to be able to make it. I'm blessed to have the people in my kitchen. Oh my gosh, man.
So I have a question about that with the people in your kitchen. Now it sounds like you're a much larger operation than you were back then. So how many people do you have working in that store on any given time?
Yeah. So it's funny. Since creamy avocado is, the vast majority of it that we're making, we don't have to do a cook time. We don't have to roast the tomatoes. I mean, we still do that for other things, but it's not, that's a small part compared to the creamy avocado. So since it's all fresh, we have to clean it, prep it, and then we blend it, and then we jar it, and we seal it, and that's it. So the process is a lot less time consuming. If it was a roasted salsa we were doing, man, it would really add to the man hours. But all that being said, like on a full time, I've got 1, 2, 3 people that have been with us for at least 5 years. And then I've got 3 in the kitchen. This is just in the kitchen that have been with us less than that. Mm-hmm. I've got 3 that, that have been with us like 5, Johnny, Angela, and Ruben have just been, I mean, they're just, if you ever want to put, that's the best advice too, is just, you got to get yourself people you can count on, and they got to know they can count on you. And we have that relationship there. It's really good. They know, man, I count on them. Guys, here's what we need. I make sure the produce is there for you, and the the jars and the labels and all that. But you guys are going to make the magic happen. And then the other 3 that are with them, follow suit, and they pay attention. They just, it's part of it. So, but really, it's remarkable what they can do with the 6 people. I mean, it's incredible how much they can crank out. They can crank out, I mean, if we needed to, we could do 10,000 jars in a week, with 6 people. It's incredible.
Yeah. So are all those jars the exact same as when you were the one in the kitchen, I'm guessing, in your house? Like,
no, we've been through, holy cow, man, a lot of episodes with the different packaging and stuff, and that's another thing, when you're starting off, one of the reasons your product has to be at a higher price is because everybody is charging you a higher price, You're not getting any kind of deals,
you don't have the volume yet.
No, you're buying the minimums and they're charging the maximums. And that's how it goes and stuff. So, now we were in a glass jar when it started, and I had an idea one time. I think it was me. If it was my wife, she'll get mad at me later, but it's okay. No, I'm just kidding. It was bring the mason jars back and get 50 cents for each one you bring back. So that helped us, recoup our jars and stuff. But when you're doing that, it's all fresh. And so one of the big points that we have not talked about when it comes to this, and probably get time to do it, is so you go into farmer markets, no issues. You make the creamy avocado. You make it on Thursday. On Saturday, you take it to farmer market and you sell it. And people have about 2.5, 3 weeks to eat it, and it's great. No worries. No additives, no junk in it. Everything's great. Well, you go into retail, and you better have a shelf life that's a lot better than 2.5 to 3 weeks, or you're going to be in a bind, Mm-hmm. I mean, you're going to be just chasing your tail on that, And so anyway, we did a process called HPP, high pressure preservation. It was a company in Katy. They put 80,000 pounds of pressure on your product. You have to have the right plastic packaging to do this, a really heavy, hard plastic seal to withstand all of that. And it kills all the microbes, and it extends life to at least 3 months. I have it shelf life tested in FSNS lab in San Antonio. I did it for 3 months. I was like, if it, we can't sell in 3 months, we're in trouble. So I didn't worry about doing it past that. And anyway, but that's, everything we made for the longest time. I had to take it, drive it to Katy, let them do the process. The next day, go pick it up, as long as one of their machines didn't bust or something like that. It was a real volatile scenario, and they charge you like 46 cents for every jar, so that's a big cost to you on that. So anyway, found this other option eventually after a few years, and it's a nitrogen flush machine. And so each time I'm talking about these different things, the packaging's changing, by the way. And this nitrogen flush that we have now, we've had it for just over a year now. And it's like what they do with chips. So if you buy a bag of chips at the store, those chips will last you a long, long time. But once you open them, the nitrogen leaves and the oxygen comes in. And that's what's going to cause, it to start to deteriorate over time.
Sure.
And so we found this machine, and they, that's what we do with everything now. And we had it shelf life tested and so on and so forth. And it holds up great. And the beauty of it's in our shop, and they're not cheap, but it was like, you talk about the time and money and all that.
The cost savings, bottle over bottle or jar of a jar.
It paid for itself within 1 year.
How much did the product change going from you cooking it and making it to somebody else?
I'd like to say not at all. The roasted sauces are trickier because you're roasting them in the tomatoes. The product's different every week.
I was gonna say, I'm sure there's differences.
100%. Some of them are juicier, some than others. Just like if you go to the store and you grab an avocado that's really hard, it's when you're getting them. That's
a whole nother facet of it. Yeah.
The funny part of that is people like sometimes our spicy creamy avocado or roasted hot. Sometimes it's hotter than others. Even our mild creamy avocado, we put a little serrano in there. Most of the time, it's totally mild. Every once in a while, people are like, "Ooh, that's got a little spice to it." I'm like, "Really?" And the deal is, we're using fresh peppers. 1 week they may be mild as could be. Next week they may be really spicy.
It's an art.
Yes. Well, It used to drive me nuts, and I'd be like, "We got to cut down on the serranos this week and add, and it's too spicy." And finally, I was like, "No, here's the ingredients. This is how we're making it. People will understand. We make a fresh product. That's why they're buying it." Some weeks they're going to get a little extra spice, and sometimes they're not, and that's life, man. And I quit. Once I quit worrying about that, that was another splinter removed from my brain right there.
So talking about expansion and change, in 2022, one of the biggest pieces of news that Tomball was getting at the time was Pain Train is getting a new building, building a new building. So what was it like going through that change? Because obviously your entire process, everything you've talked about from start to finish, it seems like you've had change every step of the way.
Yeah.
But that one seems like one of the biggest, most stressful, because now you're investing a lot of money into a building. And I know you said you wanted to mention the refrigeration and stuff like that. So I'm sure you went from, home to a building and a commercial kitchen, which was a lot of money. And then now it's not just the commercial kitchen, but it's everything else that kind of went along with your expansion. So just tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. So, well, first of all, we'll take one step back in memory lane. So when I go into the building that we are on Main Street, finding an empty building on Main Street is not easy.
No.
I mean, it's a very much a hassle. Had one of the teachers I taught with at Willowwood, Amanda Roman, her husband George Roman, they had a little business 3 doors down from the store that I eventually, we went into, and they had this little bakery there. And I told George, I said, "Man, keep an eye out if you see anything." So that's the only reason we got in there. Everything fell in place for purpose. And 45 minutes after the vacant sign went up on the building there on Main Street, he was reaching out to me, letting me know. So I reached out, called. And guy that answered, his name is Mitchell Holdreth of Holdreth Road. His dad owned half of Tomball and stuff. And I I lovingly refer to him as Uncle Mitchell. The guy has, once again, if it wasn't for him, we would none of this. We wouldn't be here right now, and that's not cliche whatsoever. He, I told him, I said, "Here's what we want to do," and all that. And he was really so, wanting to support us on this. And he's a businessman, a good businessman too, though. And that's prime property right there. So it's summertime, and my wife and I and the kids are headed to New Braunfels or San Antonio, whatever. And I get a call from him. This is probably 2 weeks later, and he goes, "I'm sorry, man, I just can't." He goes, "To turn that into a commercial kitchen, I just can't see that happening." So we talked for another 20, 30 minutes, and I finally convinced him to give us a chance. And I think if he was sitting here right now, he would tell you that he was glad that he did that. And I'm very thankful to him and his wife, and they've been just unbelievable. So the new building, all that being said, the new building, that belongs to him. I sometimes people tend to think that I just bought that new building and stuff.
I definitely was under that impression. Yeah.
And I got to start making sure I let people know that I didn't I didn't have that deep of pockets.
You know what though, Tomball royalty has blessed you being in the building. So
unbelievable, man.
You can call it yours, I believe.
Well, we're Mitchell is the holders. They own that building, and we. They're like family to us when it comes to they have blessed us so much on all that, and he allowed us to get into that cold storage. I mean, he allowed me to basically sit down and go, here's what I need, rather than him come and go, I'm building this building, you're just renting it out. It's never been that relationship at all. He's been amazing on that. And so the first thing I said, I need cold storage. The old building we were in, that 1925 building that was a hair salon, we're really. Anyway, that's that was two buildings. The vinyl people moved out. We knocked a big old hole in the wall, put a door there, took over the other side. That was another step in our journey, because we were in this space that was this small, and then we doubled it, and that was just another step. But anyway, in those buildings we had like 5 commercial coolers, so we were just running out of space. We're just anywhere we could find to put some cold salsa, because that's the key. If you don't have cold storage space, you're in trouble. So I did 144 square foot walk-in cooler at our new space. That was the first thing I drew, and it's like the Taj Mahal. We walk in there like, wow, all this cold storage and stuff. And there's times right now where like we're making it, we're filling it up, and everybody's like, but hey, let's take it and distribute it and get it out there. And it's a cycle like that, and it's worked out well. The new place has been amazing, man. Amazing. I think that, we can crank out a lot of sauce out of there. If we outgrow that, I don't know. I can't foresee that for, any time soon. And that doesn't mean that I'm putting any kind of limits on us. I mean, we can just crank out so much. We're not even close to, my goal right now is our kitchen crew, and some guys are not like 20 years old anymore. These people are, I'm not trying to work them to death, So half day Thursday, off Friday, and the weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and half day Thursday, and they can crank it, man. But that always gives us wiggle room. If also we get a big order in and a couple things, we can work, Thursday and Friday and whatever we need to work, Eventually someday we could be doing shifts, we could be having another crew come in working the late shift and stuff. So we haven't even.
That'll be for your nationwide expansion.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm Texas. I'm good with Texas right now. I'm good with Houston right now, but, I always will sniff around and see what it looks like, but man, there's a lot to offer in this area. We're blessed,
There's something about, the EDC has Made in Tomball, and Made in Tomball is important because Tomball does support small business, and they support the people from our hometown. Amazing. Like it's 100% support for everybody who's trying to run a business here. So
I tell them all the time, I said, here's my goal, and I always chuckle about it, but I really would like this someday. and it says, welcome to Tomball, Texas, famous for creamy avocado. That's what I want when they come in.
Well, the city's building the new water tower, so maybe you just holler at them and see if you can get that painted on the side.
Famous for creamy avocado. I don't know if we're that famous yet, but I would love for that to be someday. All towns across Texas have their little thing that they're kind of famous for and they brag about. I would love for that to be someday. And I'm serious about that. That's something I would be awesome.
Yeah. So how has the EDC helped you with any of this expansion?
Signage. They've done it. They've done that twice. When we were first getting going and stuff, man, they provided funds for the donating the signage and stuff, and then just all the promotion. I mean, me sitting here right now and talking to you and stuff about all that, that's all 100% on their dime, I mean, that's amazing. And the exposure that we're getting from this, and it's incredible, man. They've been, they don't just talk the talk, they walk in it.
Yeah. So I know that, we're like way over budget on time here. So let's jump into kind of where I can find you, how I can get your product. Just kind of plug away, man. Is there, obviously we know that you've got the building right here in Tomball, and then of course the retailers, the farmers markets, but is there a way to online order? Like, how do you recommend kind of getting in touch with you? And especially if I want to sample it, what's the best way to come do that?
Yeah. So if you come to the shop or to one of our local farmer markets, you definitely be able to sample it that way. As far as online ordering, it's a cold, fresh salsa. We have done that. The only way that it makes sense to ship it has been through the post office, where it's if it fits, it ships. And so we can send you 4 salsas, and they charge you. It's like they charge like 15. I think it went up, to $17, whatever. But anything else was like $50. So it didn't make any sense. That being said, post office, God bless them, but I think they play basketball with the boxes sometimes, and it's like it's a struggle. We kind of go on and off on that. If things are going okay, then we're rolling. We do have a way to go on the website and order. Right now, that's turned off just because Missouri City, they were even on the news the other day about stuff was getting lost. I mean, we had like, about 6 $50 packages that have no idea where they went, and stuff. Anyway, so that if you're local though, we can get it to you, man. We're in HEBs from, I went to this morning, Mont Bellevue to Baytown to Franzwood to Sugar Land to, Missouri City, making deliveries to HEBs. We're in Berkshire Brothers in Huntsville and different places across Texas, central markets across Texas. But if you're in anywhere in the greater Houston area, there's definitely an HEB or even an Arlen's supermarket. That was another place that we're in, that like in Crosby and Seabrook and so on. These are places you can pick it up. If you ever are just go, I'm not sure, Google Pain Train Salsa, and that's my number. I'm doing everything I can to keep my number on there so people can contact me. And maybe someday I won't be able to do that anymore, but I'm doing everything I can to try to handle it face to face and all that. Not that there's issues. Go look at our Google reviews. It's amazing. Hundreds and hundreds of them. And we had one that wasn't a 5-star, and it was because you get a point system. You get a free jar if you get 10 points, and they said that was too many points to get a free jar.
Oh man!
I was like, really? You're gonna mess up our perfect Google 5-star Google reviews? But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure that it'll be easy to overcome that. Because I don't think business is slowing down anytime soon.
I don't think so.
Any other products besides the salsa, or is it just that's all you do?
We have our own chip brand too. Those chips that we had out earlier, and those are very popular. You can buy them at the farmers markets. Back in the day, we used to make them in house. Eventually couldn't do that. It's the only product that we have that we can't make in house anymore. Everything else is made in house. But we had to take our recipe, ask the chip maker to do it. The margins on that are terrible, but I kept making because people love them. We don't really make any money on them, but that's okay. People, it goes good with the salsas, you know. And we have our little special at the markets. You get a couple salsas. It comes with a bag of chips, half price, and you know, and that's the way to go. Either come by our shop, come by the markets, but you know, we sell the 6 different salsas. You know, eventually it's my goal to have our queso. I do make a Pain Train queso with the roasted salsa.
Man, I was literally thinking about that whenever we were talking about, I think it was before the show when we were talking about mixing the red and the green for Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's really good to mix up is that red salsa in queso. So
yeah,
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. So, been making it forever. It's so good. The key is, once again, talk about how we're always looking to, all our products are no additives, no junk in them.
Right.
And the queso, come up with, you know, a couple things. I'd love to get some feedback. Somebody's watching this and go, man, I know what you could do.
Chipotle struggled with this.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, this is not like an unknown issue or any new thing that you're charting here. This is something that people are struggling with, is how to make a fresh queso that's not Velveeta cheese that can sit on a shelf with no refrigeration.
Yeah.
You know, that is something that's fresh.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. I mean, if you look at any of the quesos, you know, they got, look, we've always gone by one rule. We don't put anything in our salsa that I can't spell. And so,
fair.
You know,
Very limited, but fair.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so when I'm looking at the back of these quesos, you know, going, what do they put in here? I'm like, well, I couldn't spell that if you know, put me up at spelling bee. So anyhow, that's always been the struggle. I don't know. We're working through it. We have a great queso, man. It's got to have a little life to it too. You can't just make it where it lasts 3 days. It just doesn't work at the retail is the problem.
I can see that being a big problem, but I mean, is that something y'all are serving fresh right now, or is it just something?
I mean, I serve it fresh.
So when you say it's good,
house.
you mean, I was gonna say, you mean you've made it. It's a personal thing. I've got to get a dinner invite to be able to taste it.
That's
got it. All right, so we're working towards that. All right. So, but supporting you besides buying salsa, because obviously that helps, and besides giving you a good queso recipe that has a long shelf life and no fake preservatives and nasty stuff in it, what is the best way to help y'all right now? What do you need to take that next step?
You know, I will say that I am always looking for people that are go-getters and looking to make a little side, you know, a little something on the side as far as, you know, that would be willing to do a farm market demos and stuff, but understanding that they get paid well on that, and but looking for the right person. So I'm going to have some high expectations, and if they fit that bill, then we could have a place for them. And so that's, to me, that's we're trying to build our family on that end, man. I don't ever put out, hey, we're looking for this or that on social media or anything. It's always somebody I know or somebody that they know.
Yeah. It's
got to be that kind of connection. Now, you know, we're getting to a point that I don't mind hearing it out and stuff, you know, but it has to be somebody that's, you know, committed and wants to be a part, you know.
Do they get discounts on salsa?
Yes, they do. Everything's half price.
I'm in. I'm going to go apply. We know each other now, so this works.
Yeah.
No, that's amazing.
Well, come on, man. Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, we'll take you in for sure.
Shane, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. It's been an amazing conversation. I mean, you rocked like most of the episode alone and just kind of told us everything I was going to ask anyway. So
10 years, guest. It's just telling who we are. We've been blessed, man. And I more than anything, man, we've just been around a lot of, you know, I hate sounding cliche, but we've been around a lot of good people that support us. I mean,
yeah,
we could talk another 5 hours on just those people.
Oh, I definitely get that. And I don't want to end the show, but I know that we're on a tight budget with time here. So I don't know, maybe we'll have to feature you for a part 2 and just kind of talk about some more stuff and sample some more, you know, food and all that, because this has been a great conversation and I do feel like it could go for a lot longer.
Anytime, man.
Awesome.
Appreciate it, John.
Listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Small Business Origins. It's been another great episode with another great entrepreneur, man. I mean, what else can I say about this? So entrepreneurs like Shane need your help. He needs you to buy his product. He needs you to tell your friends about his product, whether you love salsa or hate salsa. And if you do, I don't know what you're doing in Texas, but whether you love it or hate it, you can absolutely tell a friend, and that's going to help just as well. So thank you for listening to this episode. We'll see you on the next one. And as always, stay beefy, my friends.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Small Business Origins.
I love an origin story.
If you like what you just heard, leave us a review, subscribe, and share with a friend.
You guys, check this out.
They're going to love it. You're going to love it.